Politicians are playing games with your money. The current financial system is hostile to your earnings, your privacy, and your liberties. With several states across the nation implementing policies to address these threats for their residents, what about Idaho? Gem state politicians had several opportunities to implement sound monetary policies that would defend residents' finances, freedoms, and privacy, yet all of them were rejected. Today, Idahoans are vulnerable to the tyranny of the federal government's monetary policies. To this point, our lawmakers failed us. But with new legislature coming in 2025 that promises more fiscally conservative policymaking, there is hope to make Idaho America's gold standard for sound money policy. On this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays, we look at where the Gem State stands on sound monetary policies, how far behind we really are, and how the legislature can defend Idahoans' financial liberties in 2025. So where does Idaho stand on sound money policy today? At present, the Gem State doesn't have much to show for. On inflation, Idaho had the opportunity last year, as in several years prior, to hold state assets in gold and silver reserves. This would have reduced the burden on taxpayers by hedging idle state monies from inflation. But when the bill made it to the governor's desk late in the 2024 legislative session, he vetoed it. Now, as state assets are devalued by inflation, bureaucrats are using the taxpayer to make up the difference. Everyday Idahoans are also looking for opportunities to escape the negative effects of inflation. Legislation to allow residents to use gold and silver as legal tender, a policy explicitly permitted by the U.S. Constitution, stalled in committee without a hearing. Privacy also is a key concern. Not only is the federal government working through financial institutions to debank conservatives, Christians, and crypto users, they also intend to develop a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, that would enable the precise surveillance and control over Americans' financial behavior. This year, the legislature considered a policy that would have banned the state from accepting or participating in a CBDC, while also allowing an escape route for individuals through private currencies like Bitcoin. The bill narrowly died on the House floor following pressure from high-dollar special interests like Idaho Power, who opposed the anti-discrimination provisions in the bill. So where do other states stand on these principles? Are these ideas really that novel? Well, no, not really. In fact, many states are trailblazing in these areas, leaving Idaho far behind their more conservative peers. Idaho's neighbor, Utah, just passed legislation that allows the treasurer to invest a portion of the state's idle monies into physical gold and silver. Just recently, Arkansas and Louisiana took a step further by making gold and silver coin or bullion legal tender. Several states have worked to ban public entities from using or participating in a CBDC. Just this week, North Carolina's state legislature overrode Governor Cooper's veto of a bill to do just that. Conservative beacons like Florida are trailblazers on this policy solution. Louisiana and Utah also passed legislation with anti-CBDC provisions just this year. Many states have also passed legislation related to protecting Bitcoin and digital asset rights. These bills served as a model for the rejected legislation in Idaho from this year. Among the states that passed the bill include Montana, Wyoming, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. So what is the path forward on sound money policy? Idaho must prioritize legislation that defends financial privacy, shields savings from inflation, increases financial access, and ends discrimination. Idaho should pass legislation that bans the state from participating in the development of or accepting a central bank digital currency. There must be criminal provisions for state bureaucrats that violate this provision. Banning the state from participating in a CBDC is not enough. The free market must be given a chance to render a CBDC dead on arrival. This means promoting alternatives to the dollar for personal transactions, and it includes the right to mine, own, and transact in Bitcoin or other digital assets. This also means leveraging the state's full constitutional authority to make gold and silver legal tender. The state should also work to protect idle assets from inflation. This means granting the state treasurer the option to invest these assets in physical gold and silver. Debanking is a real concern for all Americans too. Idaho should pass legislation that prevents debanking a person as a way to discriminate against their political affiliation, religious views, or non-criminal use of alternative currencies. Finally, Idaho must strengthen her independence from the federal strings tied to every dollar they inject into the state budget. Nearly 2/5 of the entire state budget is federally supported. This must be reduced to prevent the federal government from imposing its own policies at the state level. To summarize, Idaho is falling behind her more conservative peers on the national stage. Idaho has the opportunity to grow into a real beacon for sound money policy that protects and defends all Americans. It is time for state lawmakers to stop stonewalling, catering to special interests, and looking for excuses. Now is the time for Idahoans to enjoy the financial protections they expect in a free society. Thank you for supporting the work of the Idaho Freedom Foundation. We cannot grow without your viewership. Please be sure to spread the word by liking, subscribing, and resharing our content. For more content, including a more detailed companion article series on sound money coming next week, please visit idahofreedom.org.